Giancola, and I also want to begin by wishing you continued success in your role as re-elected Giancola for this Dáil. You were a model of fairness in overseeing the last Dáil, and I'm sure you'll continue to be the same in this one. I also, as others have done, want to thank my constituents, want to thank the people of Dublin Central for re-electing me on the second occasion. And as I do so, also want to speak in support of the motion for the election of Deputy Leo Varadkar as Taoiseach. The job of being Taoiseach of our country is such a unique and such a demanding one. You can only perhaps appreciate what is involved in the job if you either do the job or you have the great privilege of working for the person who does it. I've had the privilege now of working for 2 successive Taoiseach. I have seen the demands involved in the job, and I have seen the genuinely awesome responsibility involved in being head of government and leader of our country. And I have seen Deputy Varadkar rise to those challenges, representing our country abroad, and rise to those challenges in looking to make progress on what we need to make progress on in our country. And on that point, while I have heard deputy after deputy speak about the need for change, and can I agree with them, as I represent the constituents of Dublin Central, I continue to be aware of progress that we need to make in our health service, of progress that we need to make in providing more and better homes for citizens of our country. But as we do so, let's not do so at the expense of also acknowledging that there are many things in this country that are good, many public services in our country that work. Deputy Fergus O'Dowd, in passionately making the case for better health services for his constituents, also acknowledged that we do have, in his case, a hospital in his constituency in which improvements are underway. When we speak about what our educational services need to do better, let's also acknowledge that we have, for example, primary schools in our country in which the care, in which the support for young boys and girls is something all of our country should be proud of, and is something that's such an important achievement all in this House should be proud of. The one thing that hasn't been mentioned, and I've only heard indeed mentioned once, which I think was by Deputy Fitzmaurice, is in acknowledging the need for change, but let's also make the case for what is good about this great country of ours, is we do need economics. We do need an economy that can sustain this. And we are responsible for a small, open economy. We, this Dáil, is responsible for a small, open economy at a moment of great change itself. In that which we may take for granted at the moment, we might not be able to take for granted in a number of years' time. And as this Dáil rises to that challenge, let's remember that the sole criteria for a government in this Dáil is a government that can command a majority of votes in this Dáil. As Deputy McGrath said, a government that can bring forward a programme for government solely must be a government that has a majority of votes in this Parliament. And in conclusion, Giancola, I heard Deputy Michael Healy-Rae make a particularly passionate conclusion about the effects of social media on particularly our young people, about the effect of words on those who can be vulnerable. And it is my hope, Giancola, that as this Dáil begins, we can occasionally remember the effect that our words can have in public life. We might sometimes remember that this is a Dáil in which we are not enemies of each other, even though we may be opponents of each other. This is a Dáil that by the discourse we use, that by the tone we adopt, subtly but crucially sets the guardrails within which our democracy flows. And that is such an important responsibility. It's too great to sit with any one government. It sits with all of us who have the privilege of representing our constituents.
Thank you, Minister. Before I